We are human and we are all in the service business no matter what we do. We have to train people. What do you mean home training? Everybody's home is different.
Hi, what's your
Hi.
name and what service do you provide?
So I am Crick, and I used to be a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona School of Business and Management. So my service was to actually teach students service management. In addition to that, I've been a consultant. I sit on various boards, and one of them I head the customer experience committee. So I'm very involved in service.
Okay.
Yes, oh yes, and I'm an advisor to Jamaica Customer Service Association.
Okay, so you have quite the wide lens on
Yes,
customer
I love
experience.
service.
All right, so I'm curious about your last customer service experience. So if you
Yes.
were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
Oh, I have to give it a hard two.
Ouch, ouch. All right,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
two,
yeah.
why?
Why? Because, okay, that little theory mixed up in there. When we think of service, we think of five things. We call them RATA: reliability, assurance. Assurance is, do we trust you to do what you say you're going to do? The tangibles, how does the space look? How does your website look? The empathy, which we know what that means, and responsiveness. Can you solve problems? So this was with a particular company that I wanted to do an installation. They wouldn't answer their phone. They wouldn't provide me with information reliably. When you went into their office, which sadly I had to do in this area of digital, the office was crowded, hot, uncomfortable, confusing. The empathy, nobody seemed to care that my problem wasn't being solved. And of course, responsiveness, the problem wasn't being solved. So these are the things we must do. We should hit all five. But my goodness, they fail on every one.
Ouch. So with all that in mind, if you were to choose one key area that you think this business could have improved on and could inspire others to improve in, what would it be? One of the major things for you?
You know, it would be empathy because we are human and we are all in the service business no matter what we do. So we understand you're going to have problems, mistakes are going to happen. But when they do, gosh, we just want you to say, you know, we're sorry. It shouldn't have happened and we'll fix it. So that is empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of the customer. Instead, what happened was like, oh, so, you know, they kept telling me someone will call you back within 24 to 48 hours. And it's like, I wanted to say to them, what clock are you using? Because, you know, it's been weeks now. And nobody really apologized. Oh, let me say one thing. They did apologize, but it was straight from the script. So it's like you can see them reading it. Oh, I'm sorry, Anne, that should not have happened to you. I know how you feel. That's not empathy.
I'm happy that you touched on that, on empathy.
Yeah.
We tend to use we have to use global best practices to
Yes.
help inform how we serve.
Yeah.
But then there's also our culture, our values, and even considerations like empathy. How can the two meet? How does the Jamaican value system, the Jamaican culture play a role in serving, giving customer service training for customer experience, and also incorporating that with the global values? How do you balance it too?
So I think some nationalities are predisposed to giving service, right? So my sister lived in Japan for a while and she said that this is just in their DNA. It's not in our DNA, but you know what is in our DNA? We like to help. And that is closely aligned. So I remember a few years ago, I was in Britain and I realized that these are very literal people. If you say to them, where is the post office? They will tell you. They won't say to you though, but it's not open today, right? So you will go like a fool to the post office and find it locked. Whereas in Jamaica, you know, we help. We say, oh, yeah, man, the post office is around the corner, but why you want to go there? Oh, no, you know, they're closed now, but here's who can do it. You know, to get there? No, let me tell you. Son, show this lady how to get to there. So we have that, and I think that is something that we can tap into and utilize. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But I'm curious, what's one way that we can tap into that and utilize that some more in terms of our natural inclination
Yeah.
to be warm. And that comes across in the tourism
Yeah,
sector a bit more.
absolutely.
So how can we bring that more into the everyday service culture?
All right. So, first of all, we have to begin by training people. So, the service that we give in tourism, and I say we because that's a background I had as well, is not book up. It is actually planned. So Sandals has an academy. You will find that Marriott has academy and serious training. So if we want to do this, we have to train people. Now here's what I found. I did some research, a little paper I wrote called Why They Won't Smile. And what I found when I was talking to service employees was that I'd say to them, all right, tell me about the training that you got to do this job. And they would say to me, oh, I didn't really get any training, but it wasn't important because this is home training. No, that scared the heck out of me because what do you mean home training? Everybody's home is different. So the only way I could do that is if I know your mother and your grandmother, everybody would train. I say, yeah, man, this girl grew up well, so I know she can do it. But it's a random expectation that somehow everybody knows how to give good service. It's a special form of madness. So in a hotel or tourism setting, they set a standard. They tell you what the vision of what that service should look like, and they try to ensure that you do it. We're not doing that. We're just somehow hoping, fingers crossed, and it will happen magically. And that's why we get inconsistency. Because everybody's home is different, everybody's service experience is different.
As you talk about everybody's home experiences are different, we also have different levels of motivation, so different perspectives come to the workplace. So how can employers help to motivate their staff to give good service outside of providing the policies and the guidelines?
Okay, that's a great question. So, um, motivation is not just money, but money helps. Okay, so one of the things you have to do is to take money off of the table. Nobody's ever going to be paid as well as they'd like to be. But if you have people who have to be running 2, 3 jobs, they cannot even make a basic living out of it. You're going to have a problem. So that's the first thing you need to do. But second, you have to tap into what is it the higher order needs. People have a need for esteem, recognition, to be valued. And these are some of the things that we need to do. So, for example, when I first started in hospitality, in the tourism sector, we used to say things like the maid or the scullion. And nowadays, we would never use those terms. We would say a room attendant, the person in charge of the kitchen, the janitor, because we recognize that it's about self-esteem. We also have to help people to understand that there's not this big thing that the ones who come in the suits and so on are very important, but the ones who are actually managing it in the back are not important. So, I would make a plug for companies that use terms like associates, and they use that for everybody because we in the Caribbean, we're used to hierarchies. So when you can make people feel important and valued, that's part of it. So involve them in the vision, let them know that, maybe the customer never sees you because you're stacking the boxes in the back. But guess what? The person in the front can't do the job unless you have stacked them correctly and so on. So you have to make that clear to individuals because it's not automatically clear to people. Yeah?
Yeah. So you co-wrote a book titled Customer Experience Management in the Caribbean. Firstly, are you seeing similarities in terms of how we serve across the region? Let's start there. Are you seeing similarities?
Yes, because we have all the same plantation background and experience. So, for example, I heard a talk in Barbados some years ago where this lady was saying that, look, when Americans came over as settlers to that country, they came over on the Mayflower. We came over on the slave ship. So that was like obvious, we knew it. But when she said it, I was like, aha. hunger. So she says that we have a history of deprivation and want and so on. So we're used to making do. That is in our spirit. And therefore, that's a good thing because, Tony hand make fashion and the creativity and all of that is awesome. But here what the problem is now, when we don't have that expectation of wonderful service. So she gave an example. Let's say you go to a restaurant and you say, okay, I'd like to have the oxtail. And the person says, we don't have no oxtail, sound very Jamaican. Oh, okay. And you're like, but why didn't you tell me and blah, blah, blah. And they're looking at you like, what do you want me to do? Make it? Yeah,
Exactly.
And she's saying that is because we are used to that, we don't have it, just deal with it. They are not. So that is something we have across the region, our lack of perfection, our lack of desire for perfection and understanding that we can fill that gap. Right? So that is one of the things that I have found. And it has to be taught to people that, nearly there or almost there, not good enough. We have to aim for getting it right most of the time. Yeah.
Okay. So how do we bridge the gap then? We have Jamaica over here, we have Barbados over there. How do we help each other to add some of those suggestions that you're making then?
Well, I'm proud to say that I think my co-editor and myself did that by that book. So we're very intentional of getting people from all over the region to contribute, as many as who wanted to. So we're getting varied voices. And as the co-editor, when you read it, you're like, aha, that is also our problem. So we need to begin to speak with one another much more than we're currently doing. With their best practices that we can exchange and so on. So one of my visions is that we can have a forum, maybe it's an online forum, where people can talk and say, I have this problem. What would you suggest? What are some of the ways around this? Because the fact is that somebody has already solved that problem or somebody is solving it. So why don't we learn from one another in that way? So we are one Caribbean and we do have linkages, so say for example, through the UWI, which is a regional university, but there are other linkages like CARICOM and so on, where we just need to focus more on service. As you know, it's our biggest, 60 to 70% of us are employed in service. So we need to talk about it more as bauxite and sugar, everything dies. Let's talk about what is living. Yeah.
So you spoke about how we feel as a people, how we've gotten used to the idea of making do with what we have. How can the everyday person feel more empowered and know that they can actually serve better and also expect better service? What would you say to that person about empowering themselves to serve better and why it matters?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that organization that I was in where the service was bad, this visitor from overseas was in there demanding a service, and she got very irate, about it. And there were other people like keep it down, because they felt like she was making a fuss. So I said, no, but she's just being reasonable. Oh, but it's not the person's fault and so on. And that was very intuitive to me because I'm like, okay, what we're thinking, we set the standard low.
Yes.
So they are going to give it low as well. I always say to my students, there is a reason that a certain chicken establishment can have lines going around for an hour and a half because you guys accept it. The day you say, I can go home, catch a chicken, kill it and cook it, in the time it would take me in this line, they would stop. So it begins with us setting expectation. Also, we need to voice our complaints. So do you know that worldwide, most people do not complain to the company. So they will come out and say, can't bother with that and blah, 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 to their friend or online, but they never go to the company and say, hello, I demand better service, right? So it begins with us as the consumers. We have a voice and we need to exercise that voice, but also standard setting. So when I was sitting in that organization, I said, do they not have a time limit? Do they not say to themselves, the average customer should be seen within 3 minutes or whatever? I remember going into a bank in New York, and they said, if you are not served within 5 minutes, we'll give you, I think it was probably $20. Okay. What that does, it means that, 'cause they, they're a bank, but they don't have endless money. So that
Right.
means that people are going to be hopping around to ensure that we get them through the line. So when you set standards, when you put in place guarantees, that means that people will have to work towards it. Right now,
It
when we
is.
get to you, we get to you. And that's what is happening right now. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, with all this in mind, if you were to share your hope for customer service in Jamaica with a song, what song would it be? And if you could sing a little line
No.
for us.
I will not sing. But what I would say is that my song would be the lyrics. I don't have them in my head, but from I Can by
By
Chronics. Because
Chronix.
yes, because it is a very positive song and it says to us that it is within us. It also says to us that we are blessed. So we just have to reap that blessing. Because here we are. It is May. Sorry, it's June, 1st of June. But I have a friend who is in Canada right now, and she's saying to me, it is 34 degrees. Here we are in the brilliant sun. We have so much. We have so many resources, and we are the biggest resources.
Sure.
So we can. Well, what we need to do is to harness that energy and be focused around it, and we'll be able to achieve it.
Oh, this was awesome.